It's time to start our crystals using a little bit of 2-point perspective. I've drawn the horizon line and I have my 2 vanishing points. Now I'm going to start drawing my crystals, and I'm going to start with a corner, however tall I want one of my crystals to be. I am going to slant my crystal just a little bit. I think it'll look more interesting. I'm going to take top and bottom to the vanishing point, just like I was drawing a box. I do have a picture up on my iPad as I draw, and you can too. You might want a picture of some crystals so you can kind of see what they look like. The crystals I'm drawing, they come to a point. So I drew lines up from the corner until they met to form sort of a pyramid. I'm not going to worry about erasing too much right now because I'll erase again later, but I would like to have ones that overlap others, so I think I'll start another one right here. I'm just doing the same thing. Top and bottom to the vanishing point. I am making them different directions and heights, and you can make little ones and big ones, and bring your top corners to a point. You can decide about how far they slant inward and how tall that spike ends up being. And you can choose which one you want in the front. Usually the one that has the lower bottom ends up being in the front. It's helpful to erase a little as you go. That's fine too. I'm going to switch to time lapse, and I'm just going to keep drawing the crystals. When you filled it pretty full with your crystals, you're going to trace everything with the Sharpie marker, and then you're going to erase really well with your big eraser. Once you have it erased, it's time to start coloring in your crystals. We're going to color in our crystals with tissue paper. Take a little bit of about 3 to 4 colors of tissue paper, and you don't need a lot, so just take a small amount of each of the colors. Once you have your colors, it's time to start coloring in your crystals with the tissue paper. You're going to choose what medium you want to do that with. There's texture, clear, and there's some with glitter, and I picked the one with glitter. And you kind of brush it on where you want to start adding the tissue paper, just a thin layer, and don't go too much at a time because it dries really quickly. And then you tear small pieces of your tissue paper and just put it on top of that. And if you layer them, it makes the color darker, and you can also do things like layer white over top of another color to lighten it up. After you've layered it, then you're going to take your paintbrush and you're going to paint a little more of the medium on top of it. Keep going until you have all of your crystals colored in. Once you have your crystals done, now you have to decide what your background's going to be. For me, I think I'm going to tear some more of the color up I have in the crystals and do it around the outside, and then I'll have to figure out what color goes back behind the crystals. But you basically have to cover the whole page because it's kind of a yucky yellow otherwise. Something you can do if an area is tight and you want to get into the little areas, like this here, I would like to have it a little bit crisper. If the area around it is dry, you could actually trace it, cut it out, and get it into those areas too. And that might be nice for some of these tighter areas that are hard to get into, and that'll give you some nice contrast in some of your spaces too. Make sure your design is very dry. Then use a pair of scissors to trim the extra tissue paper. And then you're going to use a Sharpie marker to go back over your black lines. You don't have to go over all of them, but with the ones you want to show up better, you want to go over those. Once you've traced all your black lines again, or the ones that you want to have show up, you can accent with colored pencils. So you can decide if areas get a little more darkness, or maybe you want to make little shine marks with white colored pencils, or anything that makes it look more like they're gems. After you're done with your finishing touches, you can kind of bend your paper backwards a little bit. It kind of curls, so if you roll it backwards just slightly, it uncurls it. You can do a different technique if you're doing something rugged like rocks, but hopefully you like your design.